Let's get this under control. All right, there we go. All right, back like cook crack. I think we should be straight for the rest of the show. I think we should be straight. How are y'all doing, man? It's Friday. Feeling good? Flashback Friday is back. You ask, you shall receive. Flashback Friday coming at you today. We will talk about the best football movies later on in the show as we flash it back on this beautiful February 4th Friday afternoon. We will talk about Remember When? I do. Do you? We'll do that to wrap up today's show. And I always love taking that trip back down memory lane on the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. We'll do that later on in the show as well. But before we do any of that, you know what this is. You already know how this goes. Maestro, if you will, please. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So this Gem Droppin Session is going to act as a de facto in case you missed it. So, Brian Flores is a finalist for the Houston Texans job. I don't know about you. This smells, this taste, pause, this feels kind of Colin Kaepernick-ish in the sense that they're trying to make it seem like he's not being blackballed. You know, NFL's like, hey, just do us a huge solid and say that he's a finalist for your job. That's one perspective that I'm taking, okay? The other perspective that I'm taking is one that I told you guys the other day that me and my wife were, conversing about, and I think it's a real thing, and that's, hey, can you get Deshaun Watson here back in the building? Can you make that a reality for us? I mean, I know you guys were talking this offseason about where you were trying to link up. You think you could link up here? You could get Deshaun to walk back through that door? Highly unlikely. I don't think Deshaun Watson's coming back because of, Brian Flores. But Brian Third Eye Flores, as I like to call him now, because he's super woke. That third eye in the middle of his head, wide ass open. I don't think Third Eye is good enough to get Watson back in the building. But I don't think that's stopping the Texans from trying to explore that option. And I think that's why he's a finalist. Now, have you seen the list of finalists for that job? Are you kidding me? I mean, the fact that he's in the same conversation with Josh McCown, who has never coached a day in his life. Now, he's probably been a coach on the sidelines in his, 87-year NFL career, but he's never coached before. He doesn't know what it's like to run an NFL football team. And Jonathan Gannon, who was a terrible defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles this season, is the other candidate that's a finalist. Are you serious? And he's going against these guys? First of all, that's a joke. Lastly, on this topic, I'm begging you, Third Eye. I'm pleading with you. And I know you want back in the league. Trust me, you don't want this job unless you're getting Deshaun Watson to come back and join you and accompany you in Houston. You don't want this job. Don't take it. Please don't take it. They set you up for failure just like they set up another brother in David Culley. Don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Third eye. Better than that, man. But when you're desperate and you're potentially on your last opportunity, you might have to take what you can get. I don't like going off of that premise. If I'm Brian Flores, I'm better than that job. I don't have to lower my standards and just take whatever job is being offered to me. I should be just like Josh McDaniels and be able to turn shit down and pick and choose where the hell I want to coach. What the hell has Josh McDaniels done? Don't tell me, oh, Tom Brady, this, that, and the third, New England Patriots. You could have stuck me as the offensive coordinator in New England, and Tom Brady would have still won 7 Super Bowls and 6 of them in New England. Okay? Give me a break. At the end of and I hate to minimize what he's done, Brady would have been just fine. Okay? Brady was fine with Charlie Weiss, and Brady would have been just fine with any other ragtag coordinator you could have thrown out there. He would have been just fine. Trust me. Okay? Don't take the Houston Texans job if it's offered to you, Brian Flores. Please don't take the job unless you know something that I don't in regards to Deshaun Watson. Do not take that job. It is a trap. It's a trap. And it's the easiest way to make sure you never get a job in the league again. You take that job, the Texans go, and with your ability to coach, it's hard for me to fathom that they lose or win any less than 5 games, which is an improvement because they only won, 4 games this year? 3 or 4 games? Whatever the case may be. I can't see Brian Flores not finding a way to get them to 6 or 7 wins. But again, why even roll the dice and chance it with this ragtag group of players that they have in Houston? Why even put yourself in that position to be allowed to be the cause of the reason that they go 5-12 and you get fired because of it? And then everyone around the league can say, yeah, he can't coach. They went 5-12. That's not a true representation of what you've been in this league. Don't set yourself up for failure. You're better than this job. Don't take it. Unless, as I mentioned, Deshaun Watson and you are so close that you take the job and Deshaun's like, all right, my guy Brian's here. All right, I'll come back. But only because Brian's here. Again, I don't see that happening, but I think the Texans are hoping Brian Flores can pull that off. And if there's anybody that can, it's Brian Flores. Flores was the same guy that was willing to go to bat for the beleaguered tackle that the Titans spent a first-round pick on out of Georgia that didn't want to play football but rather wanted to rap and be a fake Rick Ross and decided he didn't want to play football. I can't even think of his name, and he's so irrelevant I can't think of his name, and it doesn't matter. You guys know who the hell I'm talking about. So Flores was like, hey, bring him to me. He's from New York just like I am. Matter of fact, I think they were either grew up in the same neighborhood or went to the same school. Like I know this kid. Let me holler at him. And then Flores found out real quick, and he don't give a shit. He don't care nothing about that. He's not the same dude that you met 6 years ago. He's a different dude now. And Flores, okay, all right, cut his ass. Anyway, I said it before. I'll say it again one more time. Third eye, unless you know something I know about Deshaun Watson. Don't take that job. Can Flores actually get Watson to come back? Can he deliver Watson back to the Texans? In my mind, it's highly unlikely. I think Deshaun Watson's played his last snap for the Houston Texans, but I'm pretty sure that hasn't stopped the Texans from wondering themselves, hey, if we get Brian Flores, you think you could get Deshaun Watson back in here? I think that's part of the allure of Brian Flores. I don't think this is just off of strictly merit, because if it was, then why the hell is he in a competition with Josh McCown and Jonathan Gannon? Okay, these guys, McCown has 0 experience, just retired from football a season ago, and Jonathan Gannon wasn't good as a defensive coordinator this past year. I could think of 5 different defensive coordinators who deserve an opportunity, who probably don't want the Texans job, but deserve an opportunity over a guy like Jonathan Gannon. I mean, are you serious? That's the best you can come up with? Maybe because you're the Texans and nobody wants your job, but I digress. In case you missed it, Jim Harbaugh swears off the NFL. Says, you know what? I'm done chasing jobs in the NFL. I promise. I've only got eyes for Michigan. I've only have eyes for you. I don't believe him. But first of all, Minnesota didn't offer him the job, so it's not like they offered him and they were begging him, and he was like, yeah, I don't think I want to go back to the NFL. Here's how I feel about this, and I could be wrong. I don't know Jim Harbaugh personally, so I don't know what his thought process is. This is how I think this situation went down and what he's thinking. I think in his heart of hearts, he's an NFL guy, okay? He likes being around adults and grown men. It's a league that he grew up in. His brother coaches there. I think he would prefer the life of an NFL head coach because, yeah, while there are perks to being a college coach, that's a year-round job. Whereas, the NFL, it's a strain, especially in season. But after the season's done, there's time off, if you don't make the playoffs, right? There's this time off. Obviously there's, the draft and all that stuff, but there, you can take some time off, especially after the draft is done. You get a whole month to yourself. The college grind is never ending. There's recruiting, there's spring ball, there's the season itself. It never truly ever ends. So, and I think he is a demanding guy. And I think sometimes that wears on young guys, but this is the thing that I think makes him feel like, so I see a comment. Sindeko says that the gains are peaking and the sound is distorted. I'm glad that you told me that because I'm seeing that. So I'm going to turn it down and let's see. Check. I think that's a little bit better. And what I've found is that I can't please everybody with the microphone because when I turn it down, I can't hear you. I'd much rather be barely audible to some of you out there who are, partially deaf than trying to make you go deaf because it sounds like I'm screaming into the microphone. So I think this is a much better level. Hopefully this is a lot more appealing to your ears. Sorry about that. Anyway, I think how this went for Jim Harbaugh is this. He interviewed for the Vikings job. I don't know if they were necessarily interested. He might have wanted too much money. Whatever the case may be, there was a disconnect. He realized this quickly, though. I'm not going to have it any better than I have it at Michigan. I'm never going to make as much money as I'm making at Michigan. And yeah, there's a lot of stress that comes with the Michigan job. And I need to beat Ohio State. I'm not going to beat them most years. And that's going to suck because then the pressure's going to mount. Like that one win against Ohio State, that just bought him in that playoff ticket that he punched. That just bought him like 3 years of, being absolved of losing because he's going to lose to Ohio State probably for the next 3 years. Whatever the case may be. They're definitely going to lose to them next year. And I can't say that for certain, but that's how I feel. It took them 80 years to beat them once. So I don't think they're just going to all of a sudden start winning against Ohio State every year. So he might not beat them for the next 5 years. But what that one win has done is it's bought him some time because the seat was getting hot. I think he realizes he's much better off in college, even though he would prefer to be in the NFL. And I think that's why he made the statement, all right, I'm done chasing the NFL. I really want to be there, but this is where I really need to be. So that's what I think happened. We'll see. He could easily get another opportunity, from another NFL team that comes calling, and he won't be the first nor the last college coach that's lied to us before or lied to someone. Oh, I'm not looking at that job. 5 seconds later, he's at a press conference announcing that he's taking the job here at fill in the blank school. I mean, we see it all the time, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, in case you missed it, Doug Pederson, the brand new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it is a fantastic hire, and here's why. Jacksonville Jaguars owner Sheed Khan decided he did not want to get rid of GM Trent Baalke, which is the reason why Byron Leftwich wanted no parts of that job. And Byron Leftwich wasn't alone. There were other guys that were interested in that job. And why wouldn't you be? They have Trevor Lawrence, and they actually have a pretty solid defense, not to mention an offense that has some weapons. There's a lot to like about Jacksonville. I told you, to me, that is the best job that was available this offseason, because everything you need is there for you to turn that thing around in a heartbeat. That said, if you don't have a GM that you're confident in, that you feel like is going to put you in the best positions to succeed, that's a problem as a head coach. And you have to be comfortable, and there has to be a great working relationship with the GM. And a lot of people don't really feel warm and fuzzy about Trent Baalke. So that was a problem. And so Leftwich and several others withdrew their name from the candidacy of that job because they wanted no parts of him. Well, Doug Pederson's like, look, I really don't give a shit. I was in Philadelphia. I had a terrible GM there. The owner was even worse. It can't be any worse than what was going on in Philadelphia. And I won them a Super Bowl, and they were the worst. So this can't be anywhere near as bad as that. And we've seen that Sheed Khan isn't even remotely close to the dysfunction that the Eagles have in Philadelphia with ownership and their GM. So I think Doug Pederson's like, look, this is probably going to be a cakewalk compared to what I was dealing with in Philadelphia. And not to mention, oh, by the way, there's Trevor Lawrence. So he's like, if I could take Carson Wentz and make him a borderline MVP quarterback, I think I can take Trevor Lawrence and make something out of him. So I love the hire. I think he's the perfect guy. And I told you when I looked at that job, I said, you really want to get an offensive-minded guy. I said, preferably a former NFL quarterback. That's why I said, even though I don't love him, I said I wouldn't be opposed to the Cowboys offensive coordinator, stepping in there and being, because he's an ex-quarterback and he can see the game from that lens. I said I would also love it if Leftwich would have gone there. Again, another former NFL quarterback that can understand the plight of a quarterback and the struggles and in the mental game that is played as a quarterback in the league. And now you're getting another one in Doug Pederson. And this guy has chops. He's won a Super Bowl. He's done this before and done it at a high level. So I love Doug Pederson in Jacksonville, and I think it's the best thing that could have happened to Trevor Lawrence. So then you get to our last piece of news. In case you missed it, Eric Bieniemy is in the discussion in New Orleans as a candidate. Now, I want to give the Saints the benefit of the doubt because they got into this thing late. They weren't in there when everybody else got into the head coaching sweepstakes when Black Monday hit, and maybe a few days thereafter, a couple of more vacancies were opened up. They got into the game last week when Sean Payton surprised everyone and decided to hang it up. So they could have these last minute candidates that they're interested in. I'm probably going to cut them a bit of slack, but I'm just telling you right now, this smells fishy. This smells a lot like, hey, another black candidate that's in the running. Look, we're doing our due diligence here, okay? It feels like they're checking another box to try, for public consumption. That's what it feels like to me. Now, just like I told Brian Flores, don't take that job. Eric Bieniemy, you've been waiting this long. I got a buddy of mine, not married. I was like, dude, we're not getting any younger. He's been very picky. A wise man once told me, those who play hard to get don't get got. Well, he's been playing hard to get for a long time, and he's still single. And I'm like, look, we're at the point now where you can't afford to settle. You've waited this long. You can't settle now, bruh. You got to find the perfect one. You can't settle. At this point, you're Eric Bieniemy. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got Andy Reid. They're not going anywhere. You're going to continue to win football games. You don't have to take this Saints job, even if it's offered to you. Don't take that job. Don't do it. They don't have a quarterback. And that's the fastest way to get your ass ousted in this league. Ask a fellow black head coach And Todd Bowles, who did a phenomenal job with the Jets. Yeah, there were some losing seasons. The Jets stink. And he won 10 games with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. And they fired him anyway. They didn't fire him after that season. They fired him after the next year when Fitzpatrick wasn't as good, which still sucks. Either way, you need a quarterback to be successful. They don't have one in New Orleans right now. Don't take that job. Hopefully, Eric Bieniemy isn't as thirsty as it may seem, and he'll realize that every job ain't a good job. So a wise woman once told me, all money ain't good money. All jobs ain't good jobs. Don't take that job. I don't know if he's even going to get it. If I'm the Saints, I wouldn't even leave my building to find my next head coach. I'd just give the job to my defensive coordinator, and I'd move forward there, promote from within, and keep it pushing. That's the best way, I think, to move forward if you're the Saints. But nothing wrong with interviewing a candidate. And again, in order to satisfy the Rooney Rule, because they changed it after the 2020 season, that, hey, you got to interview an outside candidate. Because what they started doing, teams started getting really savvy. They would find the first black guy. They would look outside their office, find the first black guy that was walking down the hall. Hey, you, come on in. I want to interview you for this job. And they're like, who, me? Yeah, you, come on. Bring your stuff. And they'd interview him, and then they say, hey, satisfied the Rooney Rule. Now we can really go hire the guy we want to hire. That's what Terrell Austin's representatives said of his 2018 interview with the Detroit Lions. He said, hey, look, my guy essentially had a sham of an interview. They essentially brought him in, interviewed him so that they could satisfy the Rooney Rule and kept it pushing, which is what Flores is accusing the Broncos of doing back in 2019 when he said John Elway and Joe Ellis didn't take him seriously and showed up late and disheveled for his interview back in 2019. And I don't doubt that either. The Rooney Rule was being abused, and it's still not working. When it first was enacted, the essence of it was actually being honored and abided by. It's transformed into somewhat of a hindrance now. Now it's a bit of a headache, something that teams are just looking to get through. So they bring a guy in, even though they already know who they want to hire, or they know they're not going to hire that guy. They bring him in anyway because it's what they're mandated to do. So it's becoming more of a chore now than it is an actual opportunity for these coaches. I think that's what the Saints are doing. They have to interview a minority candidate outside of their building in order to then hire or promote from within. And I think that's what they're looking to do with Bieniemy. If I'm him, I don't even want to take that interview. I mean, I guess any interview is a good interview. It's more experience for Eric Bieniemy. So I guess I shouldn't say that, but I don't want that job. He shouldn't want that job. Don't take that job. Anyway, I digress. I could talk about the Washington situation with Daniel Snyder. I don't want to, because nothing's going to come of it. I even read that in order for the actual information in the report to be released, they got to get permission from Daniel Snyder. Do you think he's going to give that to the NFL? Come on. Who are we kidding here? Let's not kid ourselves, man. Let's move on, and let's get this Flashback Friday started the right way by taking a trip down memory lane. Now let me take a trip down memory lane. Whoa, 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 whoa. Coming out of Queensbridge, right down memory lane on the Louie TT Network podcast. Yes. Just let that roll for a little bit. Hold on. I missed that. I missed that right there. Doo-doo-doo. Oh. Now I got to get my smooth jazz 105.3 voice going. Yeah, I got to tone it down a little bit now as we taking this smooth ride down memory lane. All right. Best football movies ever. Now, let me give you this caveat. I am not 80 years old, so you can't ask me to go back to Brian's Song or the original Longest Yard and all these old ass football movies. I'm not the guy for that. I've seen some of the older ones, but I'm not that guy. Okay. I'm not that guy, and I'm not going to pretend to be that guy. Okay. These are my favorite movies. And when I start to feel listy, I start listing things. And all of my lists are comprised of 7 items. So I'm feeling listy. So let's start listing some things. I want to talk about the best football movies ever made, in my humble opinion. And everybody's list, this is the thing I love about lists. They're subjective. My list can look totally different and completely opposite of your list. What I was able to do was I was able to whittle this list down to 10 movies. And of the 10, I selected 7. And then put them in sequential order from least to greatest. So here's my list of the best football movies these eyes have seen. And remember, I'm a goof. Okay, I like to laugh. So those serious heartstring movies a lot of times don't do it for me. Every now and again, I can take those, but I like to laugh. So keep that in mind when you listen to my list. So here we go. Starting with number 7. The Little Giants. Okay, I've seen a bunch of top 10 lists and Little Giants isn't on it, and that's fine. I don't care. That was one of my favorite football movies growing up as a kid. There's so many iconic moments from that movie. I haven't seen it in years. I can't find it anywhere. I've been waiting for it to show up on like Netflix or something. Maybe it's on Amazon Prime. I probably would have to pay for it. It's not free. Anyway, love that movie. I would love to watch it. I haven't sat down and watched Little Giants in every bit of 10 years, but I still know it like I watched it yesterday. Everything about that movie is great. I actually referenced that movie, I think like a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I was talking to somebody and I randomly said, yeah, that's the annexation of Puerto Rico. And I love that movie because it was just, at that time, it was so cool. They had some NFL players in it when they were trying to teach the Giants how to play football. Emmitt Smith and Steve Ettman and trying to think who else was in the movie. There's a bunch of football players that were helping them. It was I think Bruce Smith was in it too. It was a cool movie, and I always remember Cowboys, win, win, win. Giants, help us, God. Number 7 for me is Little Giants. Number 6. It's Friday Night Lights. This was a really good movie. Well done. And I love movies that are based off of true stories. And this was based off of a true story in Permian, in Texas, back in the 80s. And we've actually seen several movies and a TV show spawned off of this movie. The team that they played in the championship game, they've had several documentaries done on them. I think there's even a 30 for 30 done on that black team that they played against. I can't even remember their names. But there's also been a movie done on them. And so that movie was big. It spawned a lot of different things, including a hit TV show that had about a good 5-6 year run on NBC. Friday Night Lights, the whole Booby Miles story that was in there. There's just so many different storylines, like there always is in these football movies, like Varsity Blues. I don't want your life. There's always like 6 different storylines that you have to follow, but I really did truly enjoy, that movie. And it was one of the few movies that at the end, I found myself super disappointed because generally I'm not the Hollywood storybook ending guy. Like I don't always want the movie to end with the good guy winning. But in this particular movie, I wanted them to win the game, and I thought they were going to win. And when he ran on that 4th down and the music got all, climactic and doom, 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 and he's running and he's bleeding in the mouth and you think he's diving and nah, he's short, bruh. I was like, shit, he ain't get the first down. They lost. That was a hell of a movie though. And it just goes to show you how rabid, and that was back in the 80s, how rabid the high school football scene is in Texas. And it is still that way to this day. They play in packed stadiums in Texas. Fill them up. They could fill up Cowboy Stadium, AT&T right now with a high school football game, and it'd be nothing. And Friday Night Lights to me kind of encapsulated all of that. So Carter High. Thank you, Jay Terry. That was the name. It was Dallas Carter High School. I think it was called Carter High. Yes. I just remember the coach in that movie always having a sucker in his mouth and, talking. Anyway, I digress. Number 6 for me, Friday Night Lights. Number 5, Remember the Titans. I remember this like it was yesterday because my high school was named the Titans. This movie came out when I was in high school. We went to see it as an entire football team. So this movie has fond memories for me. It's a great movie. It's Denzel Washington, and you can't go wrong with Denzel pretty much. He was outstanding. The concept of the movie was outstanding. It was well done, and it's a really good movie. At the end of the day, that's pretty much Remember the Titans. So just a really good movie. Wholesome. You can watch it with the entire family. Nothing crazy is going to happen. There's sunshine in there. That's where everybody was talking about Trevor Lawrence, and he doesn't like that name. But I love it when they allow the offer. He tells them, let him through. Let that dude through. And they let him through, and he just, kind of back body drops him. Bow. And the coach like, you can't do that. He's like, dude, that's the quarterback. What are you talking about? And that's like, oh, the white boy got some skill. Like, he all right, he can do this. We all know a dude that's soft, mentally fragile like Petey, that can't take, hard coaching. Doesn't mean he's not a good player, but, everybody can't be coached the same way. So, and then you encapsulate the 1960s and what it was like to be on a team that was, integrated, but, still living in a segregated America. So it was a really good movie. And you got different perspectives in that movie. Anyway, that's my number 5 movie. Number 4, to me, of all the football movies that I've watched in my life, and I watch all of these best football movie lists and all these brackets that people put together, I think this is the most disrespected movie by far, and it's not even close. And that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to love this movie. I do, however. And if you just watch it, and I think it's even gotten better as it's aged, which is hard to do with some of these movies. And for me, number 4 is The Program. Nobody really gives The Program its proper respect and just due. That was a young Omar Epps who had a fumbling issue in that movie. You had quarterback was Kane, and he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And James Caan is the head coach who looked the other way as he knew some shit was going on, including steroid use. And that was big back then. That movie was like 1991. Steroids were huge back then. Of course, you had the whole, what's my man from the Indian that was drafted by the Green Bay Packers and played for the Indianapolis Colts at the end of his career out of Michigan State that took steroids as an offensive lineman. Can't think of his damn name, but there was a lot going on with steroids. And my man from the Raiders, that was huge in the 80s, he had just died of steroid usage from the Raiders on the defensive line. I can't think of his name either, but steroids were huge. That was a big topic back then. So, they integrated that into the movie. But you had the black dude that was talking all this shit. He was a hell of a football player. He just knew he was going to the league. Couldn't read, gets injured in his final collegiate game and can't support his family, and he's got to go back to his home, doesn't have an education because he didn't really value his education. He just cared about football. So that was like one of the little lessons. Obviously, you had the dude that was roiding, and, coach was trying to help him get clean, and he was stinking it up on the football field. So he went back to taking steroids, and then he was beasting again. But then coach looked in his eyes, and he's like, bro, you on that shit again. And he knew it, and he felt bad, but what are you going to do, right? It's just a good movie. I just love that movie. I'm gonna peel your cap back, blue punk. Like all the trash talk he was doing. Oh man. I think his name was Mac. Alvin Mack, I think his name was. Alvin Mack. I might be mixing up my movies, but yeah, buddy. That was a hell of a movie. Yes, Mandarich. Thank you guys in the comment section. Mandarich is his name, the offensive lineman that was at Michigan State, drafted by the Packers, flamed out there, ended up coming back and resurrecting his career with the Colts. And then Lyle Azado, thank you, Door Gunner and Jay Willard for that as well. That was the defensive lineman that died for the Raiders, who was steroiding his ass off back in the 80s. Anyway, next movie. Program, most disrespected movie to me of the football movies on my list, and it's not even close. Number 4. Number 3. A lot of people have this number 1 on their list. It's a damn good movie. I love it. And then I happen to be a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, so it hits a little different for me. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. Rudy. One of the few movies that at the end, and I know what's going to happen, and every single time I get goosebumps and I want to cry. But I'm a man, so I don't cry. Just like, I don't know if I've ever told you guys this. At one point, I was ashamed of this. I'm no longer ashamed because I'm comfortable in my own skin. And I love y'all, and I feel like I can talk to y'all like this, on this level, and not feel ashamed. I'm going to tell y'all a movie that almost makes me cry every single time, not named Rudy. The only other movie that does this to me is A League of Their Own. They start playing that Madonna at the end. This used to be my playground. This used to be our childhood dream. It gets me every time. When she runs her sister over and she could hold on to that ball and her sister would be out, but she lets the ball go. Every time. It gets me every time. Anyway, back to my number 3 movie, Rudy. At the end, when Rudy comes off the edge and he gets the sack and they lift him up and put him on their shoulders and he's, yeah! It gets me every time. You know, Rudy doesn't know to go in. He's on special teams, and he's like, do I stay in? Do I come off the field? He's like, stay out there, Rudy. Stay out there. And his dad is in the stands. He blind as a bat. His glasses is thick as a Coke bottle. He can't see a damn thing. But he know his son just got in the game. It's a great movie, man. It's a great movie. How sad is that his friend dies in the movie? Like, that shit doesn't happen, usually. That was back in like 1991 or 92. Like, your friend doesn't die in movies in those days. It's crazy. It's a really good movie, man. A really, really good movie. Loved Rudy. Great plot. Even Charles Dutton was awesome in the movie as the janitor, you know. I love when he's clapping. It's like the worst clap I've ever seen in my life. He's not even hitting his hand. You know, I just love Rudy. So, yes, Rudy is number 3 for me on my list. I love it when they came in. Last thing, when Rudy. The coach wasn't going to allow Rudy to dress, and the players came in, and that was all Hollywood. Joe Montana was like, "Look, man, we didn't do that shit." He was on the team with Rudy Rudiger. He's like, none of that shit happened. You know, that was the Hollywood effect. for Hollywood, you always have to put a little extra sauce on it, always. But that was a dope scene. Everybody walking. Me too, coach. Me too, coach. Me too, coach. Rudy can dress for me, coach. Anyway, number 2. I struggled with this going back and forth because I've seen this movie more times than the rest of this list combined. I've seen this movie by itself. I went to the movies. Me and my buddy went to the movies. We had no business being there. We were like 13, okay, when this thing came out, 12 or 13. And we actually went and saw the last showing of the night. So it's like 10:30 at night. And we're in there watching my number 2 movie, which is Waterboy. Oh, man, I love me some Waterboy. Bobby Boucher. Oh, man. I almost, it's the equivalent of Dumb and Dumber for me. I almost know every single word of that movie because I've seen it so many times. I love Waterboy. It's amazing that it's not number 1 on this list, but just the different scenes in that movie. I just love Waterboy. That movie is hilarious. Every time I watch it, I laugh. And at the end, you'll catch me watching it. My wife, she laughs at me because she can't stand the movie because I watch it so much. And I'll be at the end of the movie watching it like I've never seen it before. And she'd be like, dude, you've seen this a million times. Why are you staring at the TV like that? Because I love the movie. That's why. Hey, Waterboy! Yes, Mr. Coach Boy, you sir. You're fired! Okay. From stupid stuff like that to Vicky Valancourt to his mom telling Vicky that he wets the bed to LT saying, so how do you find yourself in the right position to make plays? And he says, well, I go after the quarterback unless he hands the ball off to the running back. In that case, then I tackle him. And LT's like, okay. Which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack. And all the kids go, oh, man. I love Waterboy. And of course, you can do it. And one of my favorite lines, we'll wake her ass up. We got to win tomorrow. Anyway, Waterboy. That's my movie. But my number 1 movie. Before I get to number 1, let's recap my list. Number 7, Little Giants. Giants, help us, God. Number 6, Friday Night Lights. Some of the most dramatic music you've ever heard in a football movie. Doom 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 doom. Number 5, Remember the Titans. Just an overall cinematic masterpiece of a movie. Well done from start to finish. Number 4, The Program, the most disrespected football movie to me of all time. It doesn't get the credit that it rightfully deserves. Number 3, Rudy, classic. Number 2, Waterboy. Oh no, we suck again, as Red Wings 01 just said. And my number 1 movie, football of all time, Any Given Sunday. Man, I love me some Any Given Sunday. Ah, man. I just thought they picked the perfect actors to play out that movie. From the old wily, cagey veteran quarterback, Randy, Dennis, I think it was Dennis Quaid. Or is it Randy? Which one is he? I just know it's Quaid. I know he's got a brother that's kind of quirky. I think he is Randy. And I think his crazy brother is Dennis. So Randy Quaid played the quarterback, and he played it beautifully. the veteran that was holding on. His wife is crazy and rabid. She doesn't want him to hang it up. He's got concussions and he's seeing ghosts, and she doesn't want him to put the football down. That was a nice little storyline. You got LT. He's got 87 kids, and Shark LeVay. You know, don't y'all drop me. I'm worth $1 million. He's taking all kinds of pain pills so he can play. He finally gets injured. You know, they've got the doctor who was giving him all the pills and you know, doing all the illegal shit. Then they replace him, get the good doctor in there who's telling Shark, you don't need to take this drug. Your body's in bad shape. He's like, bro, I'm this close to getting this bonus. Give me the drug. You know, so there's that storyline. Obviously, the biggest story. You got the LL Cool J. I thought that was the perfect as the running back Washington, you know, having him be the running back. I thought that was the perfect person to play that, you know, role. You know, he's the selfish guy, wants to get his numbers, you know. It's just a great movie, man. And then, of course, Jamie Foxx. My name is Willie Beeman. I keep the ladies creaming and all my fans screaming. Think you can defeat me? You're dreaming. And you get the Al Pacino speech. And I love how, you know, Jamie Foxx I think he does great impressions. And he's like, go outside and, you know, throw the football around until your mom calls you for dinner like the dinner bell. I just thought that was a really well done movie. I know a lot of people don't love that movie, but I love the movie, even down to the very end, to the twist where Pacino leaves, goes to the expansion team, and takes Willie Beeman with him. Even the ending was dope. And then the ex you know, trainer guy gets punched in the face and all that. It's just good stuff. I just love it. It's a great movie. I love the movie. Okay, so Jay Willard says Dennis is in Any Given Sunday. Randy is the crazy one. Okay, I had it backwards because Dennis sounds like the crazy name. Like if you're crazy, your name would be Dennis, like Dennis Rodman. I think Randy seems like the more, you know, subtle, more subdued, level-headed one. That's why I said, oh, he's probably Randy. Okay, so he's Dennis. I had it right the first time. Thank you for that correction. I thought it was perfectly cast. I thought it was well executed. I'm not usually the biggest fan of Oliver Stone movies, but that one was well done. Everybody in that movie, even the fight scene. And then I get a kick out of Jamie Foxx's special, I Might Need Security, where he talks about the scene where he and LL Cool J, who really didn't get along. Like, that was a real thing. Like, they really didn't get along during the filming of that movie. So that fight scene, that was like a real thing almost. And he's like, LL Cool J spit on his lip when he was talking to him. And he's just like this. I mean, I just love even those backstories. I mean, it's a great movie, man. I enjoyed Any Given Sunday. So those are my top 7 movies on my trip down memory lane. Some honorable mentions: Varsity Blues, The Longest Yard, The Replacements were the other 3 on my list. There's some other movies that if I expand the list, those movies would make the cut, but trimming it down to 10, those were some movies that I really did enjoy. So now let's transition to Remember When.
Y'all remember when, 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 y'all remember when,
Yeah. Y'all remember when? Y'all remember when? Y'all remember when there were 28 teams and only 6 divisions in the National Football League? Y'all remember when? Boy, those were some ancient times. Think about it like this. There were 6 divisions, 3 in each conference. There was the East, the West, and the Central. Think about how bass-ackwards this was. The Falcons and the Saints were in the NFC West. Let that sink in. The Falcons and the Saints We're in the NFC West. Let this one sink in, okay? The Indianapolis Colts were in the AFC East. Yes, the Indianapolis Colts were in the NFC East. But my favorite one of all, and I know a lot of you are Washington fans, so this will resonate with you if you're of a certain age. The Phoenix Cardinals / Arizona Cardinals, they were the Phoenix Cardinals back then though, were in the NFC East. What kind of sense does that make? Why are the Arizona Cardinals or the Phoenix Cardinals not in the NFC West? You would much rather have the Falcons or the Saints. Now, again, this goes to way back in the day when there were less teams and these divisions had already been created. I get it, but still, where's the psychological sense in having all those teams on the East Coast and then the one team being the Phoenix Cardinals? And they were at one point St. Louis, and yeah, maybe they were a little closer, but they were never right in the NFC East's backyard. You got the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, and you got Washington. All these teams are right there in close proximity to each other. Dallas is further south, but still. And then you got this team all the way on the left coast, pretty much, in the Phoenix Cardinals. And you got to go out there and make a trip, to Tempe to play the Cardinals. Like, what are we, or Phoenix? What are we doing? Thank God for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Carolina Panthers, the Houston Texans, and the Baltimore Ravens / Cleveland Browns when they got back into the league after the Ravens took over. Thank God for those 4 teams. Because if we would have still been at 28, this would have been a big cluster F. Okay? These divisions were all kinds of jacked up. Anyway, I digress. Remember when? You got to be of a certain age. And when I go remember when, I'm going back to my days and sometimes a little bit even further back. Remember when we were entertained for hours upon hours playing Tetris? What you know about Tetris? And you sitting there toggling those little shapes, fitting them into the little slots on a black and white Game Boy. What you know about that? Okay? Yeah, eventually Game Boy Color would come along, but for years you had that big, thick ass Game Boy. And you were sitting there for hours upon hours playing Tetris and loved it. To this day, I still love some Tetris. I don't play it as much as I used to. And it doesn't give me the joy that it once did. But boy, back in those days, man, Tetris was all of that, okay? Tetris was the shit, okay? Don't you forget about it, okay? A lot of y'all youngins will never know what it's like to entertain yourself with a good old-fashioned game of black and white Tetris. Anyway, I remember when. What about this one? Do you remember when teams played on that hard-ass AstroTurf? I ain't talking about the shit that teams are playing on now with the little black pellets that come out of the ground when they drag their feet. Nah, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the shit that would absolutely make you a paraplegic if you landed the wrong way because you were essentially playing on green cement. I'm talking about Three Rivers Stadium. I'm talking about the Vet in Philadelphia. I'm talking about the Astrodome in Houston. I'm talking about Texas Stadium and with Dallas. I'm talking about these places that literally felt like you were playing on concrete. And let it be cold. Let it be cold. These places, and it's amazing that in the mid 90s, half of the league was playing on this stuff. I don't know how we didn't lose more ACLs and more guys didn't have their careers ended prematurely like Michael Irvin did on that Vet turf. I don't know how that didn't happen more. That stuff was a joke. I'm glad that we evolved away from that stuff. Seriously. Yeah. Red Wing 01 writes, dudes ran in sneakers on that stuff. They absolutely did. They absolutely did run on that turf in sneakers. Literally. I mean, it was ridiculous. It's unbelievable that they played on that. And that was a thing. And that was before turf tape. You either had those big ass, elbow pads, or you had nothing. I mean, that shit would take your skin off instantaneously as you hit the ground. You coming up and you bleeding. And nobody thought anything of it. Anyway, I digress. Remember when, and I'm going back a ways on y'all. This is for the people of my age and the younger crowd. You will never, ever know what it's truly like to have minutes on a cell phone. Remember when cell phones had minutes? You were on a plan, okay? All these young boys know about, and these young kids today, all they know about is unlimited. Unlimited data and texts and minutes. You ain't got to watch how you text somebody or how long you're on the phone with somebody. What you know about, hey man, I only got 5 minutes left. I can't use up the rest of my minutes on this call. I'm going to have to hit you back. And just know that once you start a call, once it goes past 1 second, that's a whole minute. So now you got to use that whole minute up. Ain't no need and sense in wasting a minute. I already used 3 seconds. I might as well use the other 6 seconds. Got to hang up at that 59th second though. Because if you roll over to the next minute, you just used another minute. What you know about that? God forbid you didn't have a plan that rolled over. You don't know nothing about rolling over minutes on your cell phone plan. Man, y'all are spoiled, man. That's all I know. Y'all are spoiled rotten. Anyway, digress. Remember when Bo Jackson was the cheat code on Tecmo Bowl? Like, before there was Michael Vick on Madden back in 2004, which was the most cheatingest shit I had ever experienced on a video game. Before there was Michael Vick 2004 Madden, there was Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl. They made this man at super warped speed. He could run circles around your whole team and still score a touchdown. I would watch people run around in circles and still score touchdowns with Bo Jackson. You were moving at 1 speed. Bo was moving at 5 speeds faster than everybody else on the field. And how the people over at Tecmo thought that this was okay, I will never, ever figure that out. Imagine somebody playing for money on Tecmo Bowl. I'm picking the Raiders and Bo Jackson. And in those days, I don't think you could pick the same team on the game. If one person picked the Raiders, you had to pick a different team. Like, what are you going to do? You can't both be the Raiders. Ouch. If I've ever seen, and people, when you lose in video games, the first thing, man, that was some cheating ass shit. Bo Jackson was some cheating ass shit. Okay? That's as cheating as it gets. Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl. All right? You could literally, Dory Gunner just wrote, run 50 yards in the wrong direction. Literally, you could run 50 yards in the wrong direction with Bo Jackson and still score a touchdown. They could not catch you. I mean, I've done it personally myself. Okay? Remember when you had good clothes / school clothes, and then you had play clothes? Again, this is something that these young kids will probably never, ever know anything about. And I had a system. So my mom, she was strict on play clothes. You come home from school, you take off your school clothes, you put on your play clothes. So my mom and dad, they worked at the same place. They just worked in different buildings. My dad got off 30 minutes before my mom. And so my dad would wait for my mom to get off work. I knew that my mom got off at 4:30 and that they approximately, we lived 11 minutes from their job. So if they caught all the lights, they'd be home no worse than 4:41. If they got stopped by a light or two, then the worst case scenario was 447. Okay. If my dad stopped, because he's a habitual lottery player, if he stopped at 7-Eleven before he came home and they caught all the lights, the latest he could get home was 447. The earliest he'd get home was 441 or 444. If they got caught by a light, the latest he'd get home, if he stopped at 7-Eleven, was 452. The earliest he'd get home would be 447. So I had a system. I knew how it operated. I knew how it worked. The only thing I didn't know was he going to stop at 7-Eleven to play his numbers, or was he going to drop my mom off first and then go play his numbers? Did he already play his numbers at his lunch break? But here's the thing. Why didn't I just change into my play clothes? Like, why is that so hard? Why couldn't I just come home from school, take off my book bag, go upstairs, change into my play clothes, and then go outside? I don't know why I didn't just play by the rules, but it was the worst feeling in the world when I would see that van pull up and I still got my school clothes on and I lost track of time. We outside, we playing football or we're doing something and I lost track of time. And that van shows up and I know, damn, I done effed up. I done effed up. Can't sneak in now. Some of y'all will never, ever know anything about your school clothes, your good clothes, versus your play clothes. Finally, remember when you had to buy and wear physical education uniforms? These young kids, man, again, they're spoiled rotten. They've relaxed the rules so that in PE, you can actually just wear some basketball shorts and some gym, attire, some basketball attire to class, and you're fine. Some shorts and a Bubba Chuck or a shirt, and you're good to go. No. I grew up in the age where you had to go and buy a Norfolk public school shirt and shorts. Okay? That was a thing. You had to go and purchase those items. And you had to, quote unquote, dress out for PE. If you wanted credit and if you didn't want to fail the course. You had to dress out, as they called it back in those days. And you had to wear ours was navy blue, Norfolk Public Schools shirt. And you had to write your name in the little box that they gave you because people would steal your shit. So you would write it in permanent marker because everybody didn't have the $15 to buy the $7 shirt and the $8 shorts. People would literally fail PE because they didn't dress out. Man, I'm seeing kids with jeans on participating. You couldn't participate in PE with jeans on. You had to sit on the side. You got a 0 for the day. I remember when. Do you? And that's going to do it for our first Flashback Friday in forever. Got a few super chats that I want to take before we get out of here. The Hawk TV. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, for the kids piggy bank. Salute, G. Really appreciate you, the Hawk TV. Thank you so much for the support and the super chat. Leonard Smiley. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Leonard writes, do you miss the yellow face mask that Washington used to wear? I might miss it. Right now, we haven't played a game without them, so it's not a big deal, But, as you get into the season and they're running around and you don't see it, maybe it might resonate with me. But right now, I can't say that I miss it right now. F. Altus, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy F. Altus writes, not to take away from the discussion, but if I owned a team, I would also interview talented position coaches just to get more info on talented people in the NFL. That's all a part of the process. And I don't think teams do their due diligence sometimes. They're fixated on one candidate. They know who they want. And they just go through the process just to say that, hey, I checked off all the boxes so I can get to my guy. But to me, that's what teams do when it comes to the draft. They interview players that they know they have no opportunity to draft. You know you're not getting Joe Burrow. You got the 17th pick in the draft. You still want to talk to him. Why? Because you want to get a feel for the kid. You want to learn about him because you're going to probably be playing against him for the next 15 years. Or if he were ever to come available via trade or in free agency, you know something about the kid. And I think that organizations should be doing that with coaches as well. But they don't a lot of times. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, Lawrence Taylor was the equalizer in Tecmo Bowl. At times he could be, but there was no equal to Bo Jackson. But Lawrence Taylor was a close second for sure. It was tough. It was rough. Hoodie Quays, thank you for becoming the newest member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you, Hoodie Quays. Thank you. Stand up. You are now officially in the building as the newest member of the squad. You know what to do. Show my guy Hoodie Quays some love. All right. That is it for today's show. I thank you guys for joining me. Man. It's nothing like going back, way back into time. I'll see you guys next week for the Louie T Network podcast, in which we will be turning our attention to the Super Bowl, focusing in on the matchup. Rams, Bengals should be a fascinating game. A lot of storylines there. We'll get to a lot of those. And by week's end, we'll be talking about keys to the game and our winner. But got another super chat to take us home. Big Money Sonny. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Big Money Sonny. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, what you got on my 40, homie? FYI, my girl was cracking up on your Remember When session. She said, you way too young to remember when. Salutes and happy Friday, homie. I'm an old soul. At least that's what I've been told. So a lot of those Remember Wins, though, I lived through them. Okay. Some of them, I seen them. I've heard through the grapevine from other people. You learn a lot more. Wise man once told me you learn a lot more by listening than talking. So I do a lot of that as well. But trust me, a lot of those Remember Wins, the kid lived through those. So in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Enjoy your weekend. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next week. Hopefully I'll be able to put out some more draft content over the weekend. I definitely will put out my recap of the Senior Bowl week. That's coming down the pipeline later on tonight, so be on the lookout for that. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. Got one more from Barrett Downing on the way out. Barrett Downing, my guy, BD, thank you for the super chat, who writes, my daughter is in 8th grade, has options not to wear the PE uniform, but I bought it, and she got that uniform, LOL. See, that wasn't optional back in our days. It was like Denzel in Training Day when he told the other officer, he says, if you do not smoke this, then we have a problem. If you do not buy this gym uniform, we have a problem, okay? That wasn't optional. You had to buy the gym uniform or you were going to fail PE. I'm glad you bought it and you made her wear it, though. You know? Give her a little taste of that. She probably hates it. We had gym lockers and everything. But anyway, I digress. You guys enjoy your weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care. God bless, and good night.